Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well and having a good day. I'm having a pretty rough day because I'm pretty sick right now and it may be picking up on my mic, but there's a windstorm happening outside where I'm living right now. But I've been trying to upload 3 videos a week and I'm not going to let that stop me from being consistent right now. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Cameron Knopf. I am building a Linux distribution called stillOS, and the whole idea is it's supposed to be the first Linux distro you could install on your mom's computer and not have to worry about an update breaking it, not have to worry about having to help her use it, things like that. And so we have a lot of unique features to make that vision possible. So for example, we're using a customized GNOME that makes it a lot more friendly for new users, and we actually have a little Zorin OS style layout switcher / GNOME tweak tool / extension manager. We also have our own curated app store, so every app on the store is tested by me or another stillOS developer, and each app gets a rating. So a GNOME application, for example, that perfectly integrates with the GNOME environment would get like a Gold Plus rating or a Gold rating. Whereas if I find like a KDE app right here that isn't going to work well on GNOME due to Wayland and Qt issues, it's going to have like a Silver rating with whatever known issues are on stillOS. We also have heavy web app integration, so web apps are going to feel like native apps on this distribution, and the goal here is to be able to use web apps as a stopgap for your average consumer in order to help bridge the gap we have on Linux app compatibility, things like that. So it's kind of like a hybrid between a Mac OS or a Chrome OS experience, but on a Linux base. And then we're also built on top of Alma Linux, so you're going to be getting a nice LTS base that isn't going to break. And then we're using bootc, which makes this an atomic distro, so distribution updates are all distributed as one image instead of a package manager, which prevents any issues relating to package manager breakages, things like that. I'm actually a member of the Alma Linux special interest group helping work on this, so I'm contributing a little bit upstream too. And then I'm also actually a business major at Wazoo. I'm not a computer science guy, so I've been trying to apply all those things I'm learning in my business classes and use that to help make a distribution that is marketable and usable by your average population here. So I've been putting a lot of effort into how stillOS works. Now, I'm not trying to have this video be an ad for stillOS. I'm just trying to establish credibility in why I'm going to be watching this video, because I think watching the new Linus Tech Tips video here actually is a great market research opportunity in order to see what someone like Linus needs out of Linux and be able to improve the experience for people like him, as well as people who may be less tech savvy than him. Now, Linus has done a 30-day Linux challenge in the past, and let's just say it didn't go all according to plan, per se.
Hey, there it is. Just like that. I will definitely need Steam. Failed to install Steam. And I have to type, yes, do as I say in order to install it.
No.
Oh, no. No, don't do it. Don't say that.
And maybe it will install and launch now.
However, he's going for a round 2. He's doing it again. And so we're going to be watching this video today. I got a cup of coffee right here. And let's just let it roll.
Copilot, you need to opt out. Windows update. You will own nothing and be happy.
Okay, so I'll be fully upfront. I'm not that big of a privacy guy. I'm a little bit, and I'm not I need everything to be open source guy. And I'm gonna be honest, I probably would just have switched back to Windows at this point in my life because I have a lot of real things going on in my life, and what operating system my computer is running is not that important to me. However, the reason I'm building stillOS is because I don't want to deal with Linux, yet I can't stand using a Windows system to do anything. Like, I open the start menu, I get ads for Candy Crush and Spotify built in. I have random OneDrive syncing, and then I run out of OneDrive and get spammed with notifications because the free plan only has 5 gigs and I'm not going to pay for OneDrive. Like, I just hate the Windows user experience and how bloated it's become and how corporate it's become. And that is why I'm building stillOS. I'm trying to make something I can just use without worrying about to do my work without getting nagged by Windows. So, very good intro.
For a second there, I thought Windows really was getting worse.
It is.
It wasn't a dream.
Sorry, I was just scared.
Holy crap, that scared me.
More people than ever are asking themselves, what can I do? Well, there's those Windows debloating scripts, but those aren't
No one wants to be doing all that just to use their computer.
quite the silver bullet that they're made out to be. And there is Mac, but that's not a great solution for gamers. That is where Linux comes in. As the rest of the world enshittifies, thanks to the incredible open source community and corporate sponsors like Valve, Linux just keeps getting better.
I gotta say, I believe right now, Valve is the biggest contributor we're going to have right now to real Linux adoption by regular people. My stepdad is the perfect example of this. I remember when I first got into Linux stuff in like 2014 or whatever, I had Steam on my computer, I saw Linux and Steam, and asked my stepdad what it was, and he said that it's this buggy, unfinished operating system that no one really uses. But now, fast forward a decade later, he's getting his Steam Deck. He's loving SteamOS. I taught him how to install Diablo 4 using bottles and desktop mode, and he thinks Linux is a very, very good experience now, and he has been interested in it. So, huge shout out to Valve.
I think it's high time that I try once again to make the switch. Hey, Elijah! Wake up, let's go!
What? But tons of games I play don't work on Linux.
Sure, but there's thousands of titles that do work. And besides, it's only a month. That is unless you discover that you love it so much, you don't even want to play Fortnite anymore. Maybe.
True. That's kind of the point I have gotten to because I have real work to do. And like I said, I can't stand Windows, so I'm willing to sacrifice not being able to play Fortnite with my friends so that I can go and do my real work on Linux. If I really wanted to hop on Fortnite with my friends, I would probably just get a game console.
Maybe the only 90s you'll want to crank are these 90-degree segues to our sponsor. The first and possibly biggest hurdle when it comes to embracing that open source life is the overwhelming number of options. Now, for some folks,
So this is a lot of people argue about the fragmentation problem that all the different Linux distributions have. I don't think that's a real problem because when you actually look into it, pretty much all of these distributions are based on a way bigger distro upstream, and a lot of the guides you're going to see for those distros work on a downstream distro. Like most Ubuntu guides are going to work on Linux Mint, but I do think that it's a huge marketing problem because people want to try and install Linux, they go and Google it, and oh no, now you have option fatigue. There's 600 options available, and then you're going to go on Reddit and everything and see out of touch Linux users recommending Arch Linux to everyone because they think that is truly the best distro, even though you shouldn't expect a new Linux user to have to go and figure out how to use it and configure it. My solution to this that I have came up with is I'm going to try and be marketing stillOS as a platform in itself. Once the Linux community is aware of stillOS and it's out there, I'm going to be completely dropping the L word, which is Linux, from the website and marketing it as its own complete alternative to Windows and Mac. And I want people, instead of saying, I'm going to switch to Linux, I want people going out and saying, you should switch to stillOS. And that is also a strategy Valve is doing with SteamOS. And I think Elementary OS has tried it too, but I don't know how well it's been going for them. But that is a strategy I will be trying to avoid this problem with stillOS specifically. It's its own platform completely that just happens to be based on Linux, in my eyes.
last time we did this, over 4 years ago, I called out how terrible these listicle sites are.
These still are very, very terrible. Most of the list sites don't really go through the nuances of actually running each different distribution. And another thing is a lot of these sites recommend these Ubuntu for theme distros that aren't really that special, but they just have a good website and are themed very nice. So then a lot of these tech writers who may not be diehard Linux users don't really know how to compare these distributions correctly, in my opinion.
And so did many others in the Linux community. And right out of the gate, I would
These are just terrible options.
I don't expect much.
Yo, shout out. I did shout out Michael Tennell in a previous video, but he's the GOAT. I edit for his channel. Go check out his This Week in Linux show.
Oh, XDA's article is from less than a month ago, though. And of course, the very first one is one I haven't even heard of. Nobara Linux, built on...
I'm actually a contributor to Nobara. Their welcome screen is a fork of the one I made back in the day for RizzyOS, which was my previous distro before stillOS.
Door is on here. OpenSUSE Tumbleweed.
Okay, I don't know if those are very good recommendations for a complete brand new user. Fedora, I love. If I want a bleeding edge non-LTS platform, Fedora is my go-to distribution. But you are going to have to do things like set up RPM Fusion and everything. And it's a similar situation with Tumbleweed. I think Tumbleweed's a little bit less beginner-friendly than Fedora is. And then CachyOS, I don't have much experience with it, but from my understanding, it's a Arch-based distro, and they have a bunch of patched packages for speed improvements. But because it's an Arch-based distro, you're going to have some Pac-Man dependency conflicts eventually that you're going to have to resolve. Maybe CachyOS has fixes for those, but if you're a beginner, you shouldn't be on an Arch-based distro. I don't care what Arch-based distro it is, even Manjaro.
Fedora KDE. Straight up, that's it. No pros and cons of anything else, just go for it. Unless you're going handheld, then Bazite.
Bazite's very good on desktop too. It's similar to what I'm trying to do with stillOS, but just targeted at gaming specifically. It's the best set it and forget it. I don't want to tinker, I just want a game Linux install you can get. It uses the same bootc atomic updating technology, so you're not going to get broken updates unless they accidentally break something, which they have, but they've also fixed things within 24 hours when they do that. So Bazite for me would be what I would recommend to them personally.
If I wanted to do my thing and I want to role play as a typical tech-interested gamer who's looking to make the switch, I gotta fire up ChatGPT and see what OpenAI has to say on the subject.
Giving it an essay there?
Well, I'm giving it as much information as I feel it needs to give me a good recommendation.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of Linux users aren't into AI stuff, but for me, I think ChatGPT or any AI really is a very good source of Linux recommendations, as you can describe exactly what you need, exactly what hardware you're running it on, and it's going to give you a very specific Linux distro that fits your niche perfectly. The only problem with ChatGPT is that its information isn't always the most up-to-date information, so
I want to make the switch to Linux. I have a variety of PCs, each with different needs, and ideally I could find a distro that works for all of them. Recommendation number 1, Pop! OS.
So this actually proves my point. ChatGPT has as a con that the GNOME-based UI is too opinionated, but actually the Pop! OS team is building their own desktop for that very specific reason, because there were limitations with GNOME that went against their vision of a distro, and they're having a hard time forming GNOME into what they wanted it to be, but that is now outdated information.
Ubuntu LTS with game mode, maybe not the greatest recommendation if it doesn't know what hardware I'm using.
That's a weird recommendation.
Pop! OS. I don't know if I'm sure about that. Kind of got burned by them last time.
My only concern with Pop! OS for this is the Cosmic desktop is a brand new desktop. I personally haven't had time to try out the final release yet on bare metal. I did try out a beta on a virtual machine, not for a YouTube video, just by myself out of curiosity. But because it's such a new desktop, there may be some issues, some bugs that still need to iron out. It just isn't very mature, so I am worried that this may be a potential issue in this video later on down the challenge.
Approach was to go to Reddit, and I wanted to find someone that fit a similar profile as me, and I just basically searched for what got the most updates. But when I narrowed it down to gaming distros, there was really only a handful that were commonly recommended to me these days. Manjaro, Chimera OS, CachyOS, Bazite, and pop!_OS. If your preferred flavor wasn't on that list, I promise it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that I didn't come across many recommendations for it. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of those 5.
Chimera OS is cool, but seems to prioritize being more of a console-like experience, which is not really what I'm going for. And the same goes for SteamOS. I mean, it's still the one that I think is most likely to usher in the year of the Linux desktop, and Valve has promised to continue chipping away at the desktop experience, but it's still very much big picture first.
It's also worth noting SteamOS is pretty much only made for handhelds and like very specific supported hardware by Valve. You kind of have to have a full AMD system in order to run it well. But if you are looking for something like SteamOS, Bazite is going to be the closest thing you're going to get to SteamOS on a non-Valve device that is actually a good experience for most people.
Not to mention that the limited hardware support is going to be a challenge for, I don't know, 90% of desktop users, including my downstairs PC, which I'm also migrating this time to ensure that my immersion is complete.
For Manjaro and CachyOS, both based on Arch by the way, Manjaro's been around for several years at this point, meaning there's tons of documentation online, or other independent YouTubers have made videos and guides. It would make hopefully getting things working nice and easy.
I'm not the biggest fan of Manjaro. Eventually, I'm going to make a video about why I'm not the biggest fan of Manjaro. The problem is they're trying to take a very rolling distro of Arch and kind of make it into a more stable distro. And that's just a very hard technical challenge, and sometimes it doesn't tend to work out, especially if you're using the AUR on Manjaro specifically, which a lot of people install Manjaro for the AUR, but the AUR is made for Arch, and sometimes you're going to have breakages on Manjaro because of it.
Like I mentioned before, Pop! OS screwed me over pretty good last time. Though, from my understanding, that was an insane bug that was present for less than 24 hours, and I just happened to run up against it.
That was very, very unlucky timing.
In general, it's known to provide a very friendly experience for new users, and it uses Ubuntu as a base, which can make it a little easier to find guides and other resources.
Last but not least, there's Bazzite, which is explicitly gaming first and has gained serious momentum over its short 3-year history thanks to the baked-in support for HDR and variable refresh rate, easy integration with non-Steam launchers, and emulation-friendly features. It's based on Fedora, which doesn't quite have the same normie install base as Ubuntu, but it is still a major distro.
Okay, it is worth noting, similar to what I'm doing with stillOS, Bazzite uses atomic bootc updates, which does get rid of a package manager and give you a read-only file system. So this is a little bit misleading, because if you're looking up just Fedora guides and trying to apply it to Bazzite because Bazzite's based on Fedora, you're going to run into issues, as you're not going to be able to just DNF install a package onto Bazzite or something like that.
With all of that in mind, I'm going with Bazzite, specifically the KDE desktop environment. 1, it's the cool new kid on the block. 2, Bazzite's documentation seemed slightly easier to parse through, which
Bazzite has excellent documentation.
for me is a huge W. And 3, while it might be a little bit more limiting than CachyOS, which several people warned me about, those same people did tell me that it was a little bit easier for a first timer. I think I'm gonna take that trade-off.
I will be converting all of my PCs to... Yeah, that's where the script ends. I have to actually decide now. I'm going with Pop! OS. Just because it blew up on me once doesn't mean it'll blow up on me. Okay, Pop! OS. Drive me, daddy.
What, you guys started without me? My side of this challenge probably won't be quite as bad as Linus's, since I've been using Arch on my laptop for a while now, by the way, and I've gotten pretty comfortable with it. That being said,
It's not really a challenge if you're already using Arch, but maybe he'll have some issues and I'll be eating my words.
the use case on my laptop is fairly limited, so this is an expansion forward. I'm in, and I'm going with CachyOS. The whole reason why I've been running Arch on my laptop was to try to demystify and defang the scary experience of Linux for some people, because I wanted to show, like, look, I'm gonna put very little effort into this, to be completely honest, and I expect it's mostly gonna go okay. But the reason for that was because my experience was limited mostly to a browser. I still love Linux Mint, still use it in a couple spots here or there, just because I find it so, like, easy to get set up and going. But I know there was some comments under last challenge about my choice of Linux Mint on, like, oh, it's not as updated as other things, or blah, 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 blah.
Linux Mint is a great distro for if you just want to use your computer. The only problem is upgrading between Linux Mint versions, like 21 to 22, may provide some challenge because you're going from LTS Ubuntu bases, which provides a huge jump in packages, and you may have dependency conflicts if you aren't doing a fresh reinstall. But other than that, Linux Mint is going to be a good set it and forget it distribution for most people.
Because the Linux community loves to just scream about stuff all the time. I wouldn't dissuade you from choosing it. I'm just kind of doing an experiment thing with Arch and enjoying it right now. So I'm going to continue on to CachyOS, and hopefully it goes fine.
Now, some of you might actually ask why I'm ripping out both of my drives in my computer, when Windows is probably only installed on one. Well, one thing I won't miss about Windows is there's this really weird bug. Sometimes when you rip out one drive, after you've installed it with two in it, it will show up in the boot option in the BIOS, but it will just fail to boot.
I am experiencing that issue too, on my laptop, and I don't even have 2 drives. I only have 1 drive, and there's no Windows on it. I'm only running Linux, and I still get the Windows Boot Manager in my BIOS.
I don't know how that is still a bug on Windows 11, but hey, I won't have to deal with that with Bazite. Hopefully.
I have CachyOS on this flash drive ready to go, but I ran into a problem. My motherboard has an M.2 slot here, an M.2 slot here, here, and here, but I didn't build my system. And my problem is, that's my system. This is the Bulbasaur PC, right?
That's more of a hardware problem, though, than it is a software Linux problem. If he was switching from Linux to Windows, he would have the same problem. But I don't think most people are going to be installing Linux on a computer that looks like this.
No reason other than that I'm a sucker for punishment. I've decided to do my upgrade to Pop! OS here at Whale Land. I just got to unplug my boot drive. I treated myself to an Optane drive a little while back. And I just got to disable Secure Boot, and then hopefully this is going to be completely painless and I'll be gaming in like 15 minutes.
I hate Secure Boot on Linux. Don't get me wrong, you should have Secure Boot enabled on your computer. It is a very good security feature, but as a developer, implementing it is painful. You have to do a lot of weird stuff to get it working through like shim.
And we're off to a great start. Select your drive, can't see it. Well, I put it in a known good slot. Turns out the drive is bad.
Also, if you have like a weird drive setup, you may have to reconfigure how your drive goes in the BIOS to get Linux to detect it. I remember I had this exploit to get around the BIOS password on these Dell school laptops, and I installed Linux on my school laptop. And I can't remember what exactly I did, but I think the drive had a weird RAID configuration or something like that, because it was an enterprise student login setup that they had going on Windows, and I had to do some BIOS fixes to get Linux to recognize my drives.
Why are these challenges always cursed?
Downside of a multi-monitor setup, this is my primary monitor, so we're trying to boot into the BIOS right now. So we're gonna go into Fedora. Verifying shim sbait date failed.
I called the Secure Boot issue. Damn.
Something has gone seriously wrong. I've done nothing. Okay, I think I saw something related to Secure Boot. It is enabled. I'm gonna try disabling it. This OS version workstation, it's past its end of life date. What? I downloaded it fresh from Bazite's website today. That's a scary warning.
I don't think Bazite is based on Fedora 39 anymore, and it's showing the Fedora logo, so that is weird.
I wonder if that's why it's showing up as LTT. Maybe I did happen to grab a drive from work that had Fedora. I won't mark that against Bazite then. That was 100% on me. Okay, we're booting up again. Hey, there we go. Okay, Bazite. Yes, we want to go into Live ISO just so I can do the install. Hey, there you go, little Bazite logo.
There we go.
Oh, this monitor lit up. Hey, there we go. Welcome to.
Damn, I didn't know Bazite did this with like a bootloader restoring tool. Maybe that's new, but that's cool.
The Live ISO for Bazite. How would you like to install? Oh yeah, so the drive I did grab had Fedora on it.
Gamer time. Welcome to CachyOS. I've been super interested in trying Hyperland, but I think I'm going to keep that for maybe something on my laptop or something that I'm more happy to just play with. Try to.
Okay, good. I'm not a Hyperland hater. I have nothing against it, but you do have to get quite a bit of configuration going on to make it work how you want it, and that's a lot of work that a beginner probably won't be able to do without help.
Keep pretty much everything the same as what I'm used to, except for CachyOS, and just see how it goes. I wonder how many times Linus has bricked his install.
All right, now that I have a working drive, this is great. Prompted to set up encryption right out of the gate. You'll love to see it. Pretty painless setup so far. Don't need this. This looks fine. Ooh, we're in.
I didn't know Pop! OS had such an easy setup like this. I might have to take some inspiration and add this to the stillOS setup.
Ooh, we're in. Now I gotta play a game.
Oh, hey, there you go. Is a secure boot key added? Okay, well, let's do a reboot. I assume I just leave it on Fedora. What the frackle is this? Do I have to do the secure boot thing? Let's try this again. Error. You need to load the kernel first. Okay, well, let's try reinstalling Bazite from the beginning with secure boot on this time, and we'll see if something's different. All right, I've reinstalled it. Documentation says to reboot, enroll the keys.
There we go.
Yes, it's just universal blue. I think I enabled it. Hey, there you go. I feel like I just went in a circle, but we'll let it cook. Hey, we're in.
All right, here comes the point where we tripped up last time. Well, that was painless. I'm almost there, but before I can game with this man, I'm gonna need voice chat. So we're getting Discord going. I already got Left 4 Dead 2 installed. Already there's some slightly icky things. I have Discord working, which is super cool. Really? All right.
He's experiencing a classic Wayland bug right there that Cosmic probably hasn't gotten up and running fully on fixing yet because it's so new. GNOME, older versions of GNOME especially, used to have a lot of stuff like that, but starting with GNOME 49, it has gotten a bit better on Wayland. So Cosmic just needs to catch up a little bit with that, unless he just needs to log out or reboot his computer to get Cosmic to actually properly recognize it.
Launch the game. What is this? What is this?
That seems like a network issue, not a Linux issue.
The Linux curse might be coming for me. Wait, it magically healed itself. Magically healed itself. Well, this is
Seems like I was right.
messed up. I've got my Discord volume at 200%. I've got Luke's individual user volume at 170%. And I've got my system volume at 150%. And I can barely hear anybody. No, it's not you guys, it's me.
I'm guessing a Cosmic issue, maybe?
I'm just experiencing Linux things. But hey, it could be worse. I could be that guy at a LAN who's not running his game in full screen. Sup, Rob? All right, just rebooted and no game volume whatsoever. And loud, that's a good sign. That is so bizarre. Okay, let's see if Discord is solved. If Discord's solved, we're good. And then Discord maybe just magically healed itself?
Yep, it looks like the icon's back. Cosmic just needed to detect the .desktop file properly, so I was right about that.
What's up, gamers? Oh, we're good.
So did your audio just require a restart?
It's complicated. My system was set to spit if out, so obviously that was why I was getting no audio in game, but that doesn't explain why I was getting extremely low audio in Discord.
Yeah, that's strange. It's that problem of why isn't this working? And then why is this working? It's like,
yeah, I'd rather have why isn't it working than why is it working.
I was actually getting ready to record, and it's not quite scaled correct. You can see I'm missing half my taskbar. This monitor is not 4K, so I'm a little confused on why it's showing 4K as an option. I do normally set to 120 hertz though. Well, it made everything. Oh, whoa! Why did that change it? Do you see that? It's scaled properly, but you know what scaled it properly is adjusting the frame rate. If I go to 140 on my OBS capture, it's not scaled right. But if I change it to 120 and apply it, now it's scaled appropriately. My scaling is the same, my resolution's the same. Now that I got these...
That is weird.
I know it's not compatible. I'm still gonna download it because I want to try it. I won't blame any Bazite or Linux for it not working, but it's one of my go-to games right now. I need to test if PUBG is gonna work. Do I need to enable the Proton compatibility later? Hey, it's enabled right away. Oh yeah, look, it installed it right here.
PUBG's a game that is not gonna work. It's known for not working because of its anti-cheat software that is using a kernel level anti-cheat, and those are known to not work on Linux at all because you're running a different kernel than the anti-cheat is made to run.
Guess while that's installing, maybe I can get some other apps going here. Discord. Hey, there it is. Oh, Discord is high risk. This app uses legacy X11 windowing system, which allows it to record all keystrokes, captures. It also has access to the internet, meaning it could send your data to outside parties. Ooh, this is very timely. Well,
okay, so while that warning is true, I personally chose when developing the Still Software Center to not have warnings like that because to me, it just scares away potential new users who see that warning and then think that they're installing a virus on their computer. If I need a warning like that for an untrusted app, I would factor that into the Still rating I have.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
I didn't have to configure anything. That's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but hey, the fact that I didn't have to troubleshoot it makes me very happy.
Just installed it, instantly installed OBS. I had to restart my Rodecaster, but then it worked immediately. We'll see if the audio is fine. Seems like the audio was fine. Off to bigger and better things. So I'm gonna get Teams installed here because I need to do a work call. Well, the Teams call went fine, sort of. The Teams is still a very annoying experience on Linux, regardless of what Linux flavor you go with. There's no official app. I was using the Teams for Linux open source community thing. It's fine. There's some kludginess here and there. It seems like most of the community agrees that the best way to do it these days is to just run it through the browser entirely, which I really don't prefer.
So that's actually one of the problems I'm trying to solve with the web app integration we're doing. So there's tons of web apps around on Linux that has these random Electron wrappers kind of. I'm choosing to not put a lot of these in the Still Software Center because I think that you should be using a more official experience sort of through a web browser. And I'm going to be using the SWI runtime I developed specifically for this to package a lot of these apps and not have an extra middle thing needing to be maintained to have these web apps have a good experience. Now, I will be packaging some web apps that add extra features to the web app that they're packaging, but just for a lot of apps that are basically just a web wrapper with nothing special being added, I'm just going to not be putting those apps in my software center and just putting a SWI package instead.
Well, Control-Alt-Delete doesn't do anything. Alt-Tab allows me to switch to things, but my mouse is not there. Like I'm hearing like like in my ears. This is so awesome. I managed to play a game for 20 seconds. I must just be cursed. I have to be cursed at this point.
I've been replaying Half-Life 2 recently because it's one of the only games I can run on my computer, and I had the same issue. All I had to do was add a Vulkan flag to Steam. Let me find it. Yep, right here. I just had to add -Vulkan as a launch option, and then it worked perfectly fine for me after that. I'm assuming that Left 4 Dead 2 is having the same problem because they both use the same source engine. That said, come on, Valve. You make SteamOS, you make the Steam Deck all Linux-based. Like, make that a default on Linux. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I have 7 people waiting for me because I'm a special Linux snowflake right now. I
have been there.
Don't understand why trying to do the most basicest of things, launch a Valve game on a fresh install, manages to be like this. I'm even on AMD, guys. I'm on AMD. I'm going back to Windows for now because this is just, it's not acceptable. I have to be able to play the game right now.
Okay, the last thing now, I think I'm just gonna game. Ooh. It's got a borked rating. As of 2 weeks ago, someone said it's borked. So...
Yep, that's because of the anti-cheat.
Yikes. I won't blame any Bazite or Linux for it not working. Judging by how long it's taking, that's not a good sign. A month without PUBG. Okay, well, let's launch Balatro. Hey, there we go.
All right, we finished the round. It's the next day, and I'm gonna see if I can figure out what the heck was going on there. Off to a great start.
That is likely an issue with Cosmic just because it's so new right here.
All right, I'm just playing single player now. Let's see how this goes. All right, this is how far I made it last time.
Now you are playing with power. I just gotta
try running it in Vulkan. Unfortunately, there's no in-game setting.
Called it.
And there it is. That was the fix. Not complicated, but definitely frustrating when you consider that this is a first-party Valve title and the bugginess is so immediately apparent when you try to play the game. And
that's exactly what I said.
There's also apparently been an issue since at least July of last year. To be clear, none of this is meant to discount the experiences that other people have. It's just to also acknowledge that not everybody has such a seamless experience. I'm finding so much weird stuff, dude. It like turned into 2 black windows that then turned into this. Oh, whoa, check this out. Why am I cursed like this? Opening cinematic played okay, and this looks promising other than the weird white line that I have at the left and top for some reason.
Probably another Cosmic issue, I'm guessing. Sorry, I'm not trying to hate on Cosmic. It's just like a brand new project. They still need to iron stuff out.
Supposed to do something.
Hold on, here's an idea. Okay, so look up, we can rebind that. Let's go left click. Okay.
Okay, but who's trying to play a game like that?
Hey, controller works. I guess I'm gaming on a controller, boys.
I should try to mount my network share. So network, shared folders, SMB. Oh, dude, is it gonna find it for me? Whoa, it found it for me. Hell yeah. Add, can I pin them to the side? Oh, I can. Oh, that's kind of nice.
Network drives in Linux work great. I've had very good experiences with both my own hosting, but even like Google Drive, you can just sign into your Google account. It will have Drive built into your file manager if you're running GNOME or KDE. Even I believe Cinnamon, now supports that.
I'm feeling pretty decent right now. I have my audio working. I have a game running. I have my SMB share mounted. The most painful roadblock was by far like getting it to this point. A quick recap on what happened with the Secure Boot thing was I turned Secure Boot off because I thought that's what it needed when the Fedora drive that I accidentally grabbed from work was asking for it. Then when I installed Bazite, it was, hey, turn Secure Boot on. I don't have it on, I have your key. But after I installed it, I think I might have gotten a little bit confused or chose the wrong thing when it asks me to enroll it. I needed to make sure that Secure Boot was on first, and now that it was on when I installed it, it was pretty painless.
Maybe a Bazai or eventually stillOS should maybe add a little dialogue or something telling you what to do in order to get Secure Boot working properly, telling you to actually enroll the key when you get to that point. That may save a lot of new users a headache, just having those instructions provided when the installation is over.
I wonder if Linus is going to have as smooth of a time or if his is going to be a little bit worse.
Well, this is remarkable. I'm up to 3 Steam windows now. Nope, can't type. After I figured out the control issues, we did manage to get through the entire Helldivers mission with no further complications. So while I wouldn't call today a success, it also wasn't a complete failure, and I think I'm ready to do a little bit more Googling, learn a bit more, figure out what the heck is going on with my Steam interface here. Now, it is worth noting that while I am obviously showing a lot of the problems I'm having today, I'm not trying to make Linux look bad or anything, and there were aspects of the experience that were much better.
I will say, even videos like this that kind of make Linux look bad actually helps give us devs things that we need to work on and improve. So I think that maybe the Pop! OS developers should be watching this video, taking notes down and learning from it the same way I'm trying to learn from it here for my project stillOS.
For instance, setting up Pop! OS involved none of my data being given away. And maybe more importantly, if you don't like futzing about with things, is I had to do nothing to get all of my various devices working. No going to the manufacturer's website, downloading drivers, none of that nonsense. The convenience of the Cosmic Store and it being something I might actually want to use, unlike the Windows Store, pretty nice. And so far, I've got to give it.
True. That's one of my favorite things about Linux is not having to go EXE hunting. I open the Software Center, usually just grab a Flatpak, and it works most of the time if it doesn't have sandbox issues.
Credit for being pretty darn intuitive, other than maybe the pressing the power button to reach my settings. That has like Windows 95, you press start to shut down kind of energy. With all that said, I'm excited about the next month, and I hope you guys are excited to come along with us, and excited to hear about our sponsor.
Okay, so I'm not going to watch the outro and I skipped the second sponsor, but pretty good video. It showed a lot of the pain points a lot of newer Linux users have and some of the issues, but seems like they had a pretty good first impression so far, except for cursed Linus. But I think this video is a very good, just raw experience on what it's like to just get started on Linux, especially if you're a gamer trying to get your games going. So I like this video. I thought it was pretty informative. I've been taking notes on the UX. I do think the timing's a little bit bad. Like maybe if you're gonna go with Pop! OS, it would have been better maybe if you would have done this later in the year when Pop! OS 2604 on the new Ubuntu base is out and you have a more mature experience of Cosmic with some bug fixes. But other than that, I thought this video was pretty good and informative. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, you may enjoy my Seagull talk up here that I did re-record, but it's on how to make Linux mainstream and some of the problems Linux has that is preventing it from being used by your average consumer. And I will see you in my next video. Peace out.